chains. So here, here our current stage. We started our very minimum viable product in the early 2020, and then we just 3 years old now. And right now, we already been operate in 4 provinces in Indonesia, including South Sulawesi, and also West Java, Bali, and now Jakarta. And we have over 7,000 daily disposal order, and we already have over 9,000 active waste collectors throughout the country, and then over 1,000 registers Octopoints or Waste Bank. And yeah, this is how it works. So our broader impacts to advance SDGs agenda, of course, we're saving the environment, and also we create job creations and women empowerment, and so on and so forth. And then what we actually do, this is in Jakarta. So recycling is only the beginning, but also we try to put our Octobox in many public areas in Jakarta and also Bandung. This is the picture of our Octobox in front of the mall in Jakarta, and also we do partnership as well with the fast-moving consumers goods such as coffee or anything that getting hype today. So we just put our Dropbox over there to to get our presence more in public, so the public can more aware about our presence. And then this is the story of one of our waste pickers. Before, just give you a context, he's working as a daily scavenger or small waste pickers. And before he joined us in Octopus, he only gained like $75 per month or 1 million rupiahs from what they sell to his bosses. And then after joining Octopus in October, his income has increased tenfold to 10 million rupiah, or equals $750 US. So this is actually 3 times of local minimum wage set by the local government. And then this is another story from our waste pickers. She joined us in the early 2020 because of the pandemic situations forced her employer to reduce their the number of employees, which fortunately affected her employment. So she's an accountant before, and then she joined us in Octopus as a pelestari or small waste pickers, and then to earn income like 3 times higher than the minimum wage set by the local government. So this is the founders 3 years ago, 5 of us starting this project in Makassar City. And then 3 years later, we just secured our very first funding, 5 million USD, led by the Open Space and SOSV. So maybe this is just the beginning, and this is what I can tell you. That anything you dream of, just do it, just try it out, because you never know what the future can bring to all of you guys here. Thank you.
Wow. Are they a fan of you?
Thank you.
Okay. Such a very interesting topic. Thank you once again, Mr. Musawir Muta, a co-founder and expansion director, Octopus Indonesia, for your very insightful presentation to our guests and delegates. So up next, I would like to invite Ms. Sol Kim, a research assistant, ASEAN Africa Center, Seoul National University, and will be presenting on the topic of digital human resource development for a digital era. Ms. Sol Kim, please.
Wow, Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Excellency. It's an honor to be here to share my story and my experience. Okay, let's begin my story and please attention to me. Wow, why not change the world? So I've always wanted to change the world, but is it too grandiose? But for me, I thought this sentence like this: let's make a better world for people to live in while helping and saving lives. And also, I should let people know the world is beautiful. So you guys, so beautiful, and this world is so beautiful. And it's my first time to visit Cambodia. Cambodia is really beautiful. Okay, wow. So when I was young, I thought only 8 doctors can do this well. When you go see a doctor, he treats our wounds and really saving lives. So I tried to be a doctor, so hard, study hard. But what was the result? Here, I'm standing here as an educator, but not a doctor. But I'm so happy as an educator. Okay, so when I failed to enter medical school, I started thinking about what could I do to save lives. And during last semester of my university, I volunteered as a Korean teacher. I taught Korean to a little child, so while Korean teaching, I prepared class with origami so that the little girl can learn Korean easily in a fun way. So through this very short period of teaching, I realized that, wow, education is so powerful tool that influence positively people. So to further experience of my field of education, I decided to go to Honduras, which is located in Central South America, to teach English at International Christian School of Uraco upon recommendation of my university professor. So the first thing I had to prepare as a teacher, just English. The school administrator just asked me if there would be no problems when you can speak English, isn't it? So, because even though I did not speak Spanish, their language, so I could teach English them. So, and also when I arrived in Honduras, as I witnessed those living in dangerous and difficult environments, I think that, English can be a powerful tool that change their lives for better. By speaking English, we can get a good job and making big money. So I thought, I will do my best to teach English. But the beginning of my teaching class, I was so frustrated as I had a hard time communicating with my students. My poor Spanish, and also I have no idea of a teaching skill. So at the time, I feel so hard time. But and also my students, they're not willing to learn in even classroom, and they did not open their textbooks. So sometimes I feel urged to pack up and leave for my home, my country, my Korea. But I didn't. I sympathize my Honduran kids more and more. My sincerity and love for them grew day by day. So this which fostered my perseverance to stay there and also helped me to face every challenge for my stay. Finally, my love, my sincerity changed their lives and motivate to learn English. Like this. So, and finally, they study hard in English. And for example, the kindergartners that I taught, they speak English better than students in 12th grader. So this progress in my students, so made other English teacher come to me and ask me advice in English teaching. So I was so grateful that I was able to my best in my students. But with only few days left to go back to my country, Korea, so I found out one of my female students who I was grown too close was sexually harassed by one of my male students. At the time, I lost my words. It's so shock for me because they are loved my children, but they did something wrong. So I brought this incident intention to the whole homeroom teacher, I was very shocked. I was so disappointed his response. It is nothing. So he dismissed the incident as insignificant. But on the other hand, the vice principal appealed to me with tears of sorrow. And she said, "Miss, I feel miserable as a vice principal and as a mother taking care of two daughters. Her two daughters as well entered this same school. And she said, this horrible sexuality culture and inappropriate sexual values make lots of problems. But I cannot deal with this." And I realized that even though dedicating myself to English education, so some students, they suffer in silence because they are not taught SRHR, sexual reproductive health rights. At that time, I saw many female students, they are dropping out school off because of their unintended pregnancy. And also, I saw some people were grandmothers by the age of 29. So at the time, I started thinking about along lines of this question. What if people knew about the risk of early pregnancy and the concept of SRHR? And would this change the ways of educate their children on this topic, SRHR? My answer? Yes, positive. We can do it. So after this experience, I want to delve into this topic in research because I had grown close to people who benefit from this research, SRHR education. So today, 2 years later, so while doing my master in global education cooperation, finally I changed my major, education, because they need this part, SRHR education. So I went back to my loved ones in Honduras, but this time as an education researcher. So now, what is underground study? What is underground study? And how can we prepare this underground study? Okay, let's look at this picture. Okay, what I'm doing now? So am I research or having fun or doing research? Okay, when I first trip to my Honduras, I made a mistake of dismissing their needs, and because I have a prejudice and beliefs from my education background, English is what they need the most. But this time, I don't want to make a mistake. I just want to respect their needs and their want. So I think the underground study, the best research is that just listening what they need and what they want. So I met many people and listening their stories. So firstly, I have a make a fun and to laugh for and express my thanks to them. I met many people in school context, and I asked them, what is adolescent pregnancy in Honduras context? And do you guys have a educational solution intervention? And I finally found out they already have an answer to prevent adolescent pregnancy, and also there are some change in their world by some people. So I want to introduce 3 people. So there are many awesome people in Honduras, and I met 3 people and 1 teacher. So he really want to meet his students, and he counsels about this issue, about SRHR. So he counsels after school class or during lunchtime. He open every time to every student. And 2, community leader, and he's pastor, and he gives seminar to youth group. So the youth group is like out of school students. So they don't have a regular class, but he opened a seminar and he teach values and the SRHR. And 3rd one, I remember her. She's awesome. Actually, she was my student, but she quit the school because of her unintended early pregnancy. So I was worried about what I meet again. How can I say something? Because I think that it's kind of wounds for her, but she never mind. and she just explained, and he shared her experience of a pregnancy. And now she takes a responsibility of her life, and then she shares her experience to others. And she shared that I always say, please focus on your vision and focus your time, not pregnancy, like this. Okay, so these people have a 5 characteristics like this. So one, they have possessed in common these 5 characteristics. One, critical opinion toward Honduras to improve social change. They already know that adolescent pregnancy is a problem, and they surely think about we have to change. And 2, care for others, service, and sacrifice themselves, devote themselves to others, and they want to spend their time, energy to change the world. And 3, continuous effort to social action. You know, they were not taught about like SRHR, but they continually take other class about SRHR to help others. So they continually have an effort, they try hard. And 4, constructive attitude toward their life and Honduras. You know, they are in progress severe condition, but they don't mind. And they think that I can do my best for others. And 5, they have a clear sexual values, that's active. So with 5 characteristics, a single person who have these 5 characteristics can instigate, change the world, change social change. Now, with 5 characteristics, let's think about how can we change the education system in the era, the 4th industrial revolution. And first of all, we think about what change did the 4th revolution bring to us? Okay. Okay, so this picture, in 2016, AlphaGo's victory over Isidore was sensational for me as a Korean. You know, Isidore, he's super popular of the play of Go, Badu. So I think that he will win. He will, but he lost. But you know, the machine smarter than humans is first frightening. They replace human beings. But you know, AI technology provides us convenience for our lives as human beings. You know, is there anyone going to bank to transfer money? No. Okay, thank you. Someone answer. Okay, for me, I don't go to transfer my money because I can use this smartphone. I can use this smartphone with a few clicks. I can transfer money to anyone. You know, it's very simple and convenient. And also, I'm really happy to be here, meet you guys in person. But you know, pandemic era, the COVID-19, we don't need to go to school. So honestly, since I was young, my mother and my father really emphasized that you have to go to school and learn and meet your friends. But now, these days, children say, it's awkward to go to school. Mom, why I have to go to school? I can stay home to learn. Because they can see them, teachers and friends on the screen, like this. So now we have with this context, with this era, so let's think about it. What education should we provide the next generation for the future in this era? 1, an era smarter machine can replace and give convenience to human beings. And 2, an era when we have unexpected pandemics, COVID-19. And 3, an era of a fourth industrial revolution, where the information we will learn now become obsolete and new information, new paradigm emerge. So I return back to 5 characteristics that I mentioned earlier. So I want to check what we will learn from change agent of Honduras. Let's think about it. Who we need for this era? 1, critical opinions toward the world to improve social change. You know, we need to encourage people to ask the word why, not leaving behind the word as going on. So we need to critically think about why it happened. So you know, we have many problems: climate change, poverty, still we are COVID-19. So hey guys, let's jump into these issues. And these issues are waiting for you guys. Let's do it. And 2, care for others, service and sacrifice mind. You know, we do not live alone. Here, we come from other countries, we stay together, we talk, and then we think about the global issue like this. You know, we can see the COVID-19 pandemic is a global, not a national one. So we need to teach, we need to educate people who have a service and devote themselves to life, the world issue, not only on his interest. And next, continuous efforts for social action and constructive attitude towards their lives and the world. You know, we have to set the mind. We need talent, proactive and active to this issue, instead of mindset, oh, the world will not change. You know, it's really severe to change. But no, never give up. We need to set the mind, the world change positively. And we can do this, and you can do this, and everyone can do this, never give up. We can change the world. And last, and clear ethical practice and values. You know, we educate ethical people who can utilize advanced technology. So when I was young, I didn't heard about the crime of voice phishing and distribution pornographic sites online. I didn't hear about it. But even though we have many convenience from the advanced technology, AI technology, but also many crimes of emerge. So it is the key point that we need to educate people who have a clear ethical values. They can use their knowledge, they can use their technology to benefit from people and world. So I think that we need active and very proactive talent to interpret the knowledge, the world, and ethically utilize the knowledge. Not just memorizing the knowledge of textbook, just the AR. So this is the last slide. So I think that we need to focus on one individual. So we need to educate one individual to perceive the world's issue, not so that will change the world, and address the unprecedented problems like COVID-19, climate change like this, with a clear ethical practice for themselves, for the world together. Okay, thank you for listening. Thank you.
Wow, very interesting topic about climate change, about the environment, about all kinds of sensitive topics that the world most concerned about. You know that right now we are busy living in this, living and forget about Mother Nature. She sustains our lives on Earth. She provided food we eat, raw material good we use. She provided opportunity for people to see everything there is to see and to go any place there is to go. But despite free services provided by her, we are so cruel to her by our selfish activities. Mahatma Gandhi said it's right. The earth provides the satisfy for every man need, but not every man greed. This is our time to reunite, to be the strength of the country, to be the future generation, to change the world, to make the world a better place for not just only ASEAN, but the world, all the country. Thank you very much, Ms. So Kim, for your very insightful presentation to our youth and delegate. Thank you very much.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, our ASEAN Talk Live edition is now ended and conducted successfully. I would like to thank to all of our two honorable speakers for spending your valuable time presenting a very detailed and insightful to our distinguished guests and delegates.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we are going to have a video montage of first ASEAN Youth Dialogues, so please kindly take a look.
Hello, my name is Raquel. I am from University of Southeast Asia in Siem Reap, Cambodia. Welcome and hope to see you soon in Cambodia. I believe that I can gain more knowledge and have a good communication during and after our meeting. I do love Korean culture, so it is good for me if I can learn deeply about the Korean cultures.
Hi, I'm a delegate of South Korea participating in the Asian Youth Dialogue. My expectations during the Youth Dialogue is that I will meet a lot of different people from different backgrounds and gain meaningful perspectives by having fruitful conversations. I want to learn more about Asian countries regarding the economic statuses and trade relationships.
Hi everyone, my name is Lucas Norman Barek and I'm from Indonesia. The things that I want to learn more about Korea, not only about the culture, but also about how youth play the role in the community development, especially in the rural area.
This is Sang Mi Jong from South Korea. I'm looking forward to communicating with other youths. Also, I'd like to learn about opportunity for cooperation to Korea through the Asian community.
Assalamualaikum and hello, I'm a youth delegate from Brunei Darussalam. I would like to expect that there will be a lot of diverse views, opinions, and also ideas where you can share and also reflect. And I would expect that there will be a lot of bonding session between the participants, and would like to learn more about the culture diversity in Korea.
My name is Jansamon Somanivong from Laos. So I would like to learn more about Korea is how to the positive attitude of Korean people who love and interest about environmental protection.
Hi everyone, my name is Zi. I'm from Malaysia. Throughout the program, I hope to be able to make some new friends and being able to exchange my knowledge and experience with one another. And lastly, I would like to learn more about the Korean culture. Thank you.
Hello, good morning everyone. I'm Zhang Kim, one of the delegates greeted from Myanmar. Concerned with the expectations during the participation in the first ASEAN dialogue, I have two expectations. One of them is to explore how ASEAN countries and Korea are trying to keep up with the improvement in the food industrial revolutions and how they are trying to overcome the challenges in post-pandemic recovery.
Hi, I am Jongpil Kim from South Korea. I expect that I can interact with many people from ASEAN countries. I want to know about ideas and culture from ASEAN and ASEAN's future goal and the vision.
Hello everyone, I'm Riel from the Philippines, and what I'm expecting from this event is that I would be able to meet youth from different parts of the world who have the same goal, which is to know the roles of the youth in the post-pandemic era.
Hi everyone, I'm Soon Kim from Seoul, which is the capital of the Republic of Korea. From this ASEAN Youth Dialogue, I'm expecting to learn more, to hear more about people in different fields in different countries and how they're trying to deal with COVID-19. Especially the ASEAN countries, I would like to hear more about their dreams and their cultural beliefs.
Just a young gun with a quick fuse. I was uptight, wanna let loose. I was dreaming of bigger things and wanna leave my old life behind. Not a yes sir, not a follower.
Hello, my name is Sabrina and I'm from Yale News College in Singapore. What I hope to gain from this experience are new perspectives from my fellow youth delegates on how we as youths can provide new insights into global issues. And what I hope to learn about Korea, based on your amazing food, is how youth voices and opinions are supported.
My name is Thanh Nguyen Đăng Khoa and I come from Vietnam. Coming to this year's ASEAN Youth Dialogue, I would love to deepen my knowledge and exchange ideas on topics regarding our countries. It would also be a nice chance for me to get to know more about Korean cultures and ways of living.
Hi, I am Betsy from Indonesia. By participating in the first ASEAN Youth Dialogue, I hope that I can broaden my perspective on current issues. I also hope that I can collaborate with other participants to solve problems in the world, especially in ASEAN. From Republic of Korea, I hope that I can know more about how they influence the world with their entertainment and their technologies.
Sabaidi. Hello, I'm Suchita Bomasin, a youth delegate from Laos. I have heard that many representatives around Asian countries are going to be speaking. I'm really looking forward to share my viewpoints and discuss along with other youths. Thank you.
My name is Guson Kwon and I'm from South Korea. I want this experience to be an opportunity to meet youth from various backgrounds and interact with them. And through this experience, I want to know more about the political environment of ASEAN countries.
Thailand. First of all, I would like to know what's going on in ASEAN community right now in order to prepare myself and my country for the next level of ASEAN community. And also, I want to learn why South Korea is good at using the soft power and why they decided to invest in the entertainment industry.
Hi, my name is Hazim and I am from Malaysia. My expectation during the dialogue is to be able to share and learn new things with the other participants. My expectation after the dialogue is to be able to start taking action in order to change and make a better world with what I have gained throughout the dialogue.
Participating in the first ASEAN Youth Dialogue, I would love to have fruitful discussion about the role of youth in the fourth industrial revolution post-COVID. I also like to share about Vietnamese culture and learn culture from other delegates. About Korea, I would love to know more about the Hallyu.
I am Haeyoung Kang from South Korea. If I participate in this program, I can get a lot of useful information and broaden my perspective. I wanted to learn about ASEAN's cooperation as an economic community.
My name is Nurul Shahida from Malaysia. My expectation from the first ASEAN Youth Dialogue is to learn and explore more with ASEAN. I would like to know more how the Korean youth perceive the world nowadays. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mark Banbasadre from the Philippines. This dialogue is an opportunity that will provide me with better perspectives in my interest in the 4IR. Being immersed in the diverse ASEAN community is exciting, especially with the Korean delegates with whom I'd love to have an engaging conversation on Korean wave influences.
Hello, I'm Jisufa from Korea. My expectation in the first ASEAN Youth Dialogue is to know the ASEAN situation well. And I would like to learn more how can foster ASEAN democracy. Thank you.
Hello, I am Ning from Laos. I'm so glad to participate in this program, and I'm really sure that I will gain a lot of things from this program, especially about the ASEAN and exchange the ideas of how we can recover our country after the pandemic.
Hello everyone, my name is Niwale. I'm one of the youth delegates from Myanmar, and also I would like to request ASEAN and Republic of Korea to further strengthen especially our partnership and cooperation not only in youth program but also in sports through many activities and initiatives and joint programs in the future. Thank you.
My name is Hua Lam Buk, currently sophomore at Ho Chi Minh City University of Education, Vietnam, being the official delegate in the first Asian Youth Dialogue is a great chance for me. Therefore, I want to take more opportunities to learn.
Hello, Sabaidi. I'm Vilay Song from Lao PDR. My expectation from this forum is to have a fruitful discussion, to exchange views, and to build some network with youth leaders from ASEAN and Korea. I also wish to learn more upon how Korea uses digital and technology into their national development and how youth take part in this process. Nice to meet you all.
Hello everyone, I'm Thao and I come from Vietnam. Participating in this first ASEAN Youth Dialogue, I hope to bring on the table my practical work experience with the public sector in Vietnam to enrich the discussions of post-COVID opportunity, especially related to the area of digitalization. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Yeji Kim from South Korea. It's an honor to participate in first ASEAN Youth Dialogue. I'd like to discuss current issues and interactions between Korea ASEAN countries.
Hi everyone, I'm Prasan from Malaysia. My expectation participating from the first ASEAN Youth Dialogue is to be able to learn as much from the list of ministers and dialogue partners to be able to bring back to my country and share to everyone here. My expectation from the Koreans will be to be able to learn about their food, culture, and of course a little bit about their K-pop culture.
My name is Nipawan Nonawong. I'm from Laos. My exception during participation in this program, I would like to share my opinion about environment of my country to another country of ASEAN to know we exchange opinion together.
Hello, my name is Hoàng Mỹ Nguyên Trang. I'm come from Vietnam. After participating in the first Asian Youth Dialogue, I expect that I can gain more awareness and knowledge about Asian countries in terms of economy, culture, and social.
Hello, nice to meet. I'm Kim Brano. I'm from Myanmar. Participate in the Youth Dialogue. I can tell you on current important issue with ASEAN member state and Korea and country.
Hello everyone, my name is Chun Seok Park and I participated in the ASEAN Youth Dialogue as a Korean delegation. In this dialogue, I expect to speak with delegations from each country on how the world can work together to solve international problems such as COVID-19. Through our dialogues, I wish to find solutions to these problems. Also, in this process, I would like to learn how ASEAN countries can cooperate together. Thank you.
Hello everyone, greetings from Myanmar. I am Nana Chale, one of the Myanmar Youth Delegate of First Asian Youth Dialogue. I am excited to attend the 4IR and future World Asian. I feel like sharing knowledge. If I hope many experience give and take Asian Korea ICT and advantage or Asian Youth Development Program in this project.
The new culture in ASEAN brought about by COVID-19 pandemic. I'm expecting more practical understanding of post-pandemic life.
Hello, my name is Vancy Sanchez from the summer capital of the Philippines, Baguio City. Baguio City is well known as the education of the North. For me, I want to know more about their educational system, since our place has a lot of Korean students. I want to know more about their culture and traditions, especially their educational system. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Youngchae Kim and I'm from South Korea. Participating in the first ASEAN Youth Dialogue, I would like to learn about the economic and social aspects of ASEAN countries after COVID-19 and explore ways to improve current situation. In addition, I would like to learn about the cultures of various ASEAN countries while participating in the 3-day meeting in Cambodia. Thank you.
Greeting from Cambodia. My name is Mandasa Bachun, a youth delegate from Kingdom of Cambodia. I'm very excited and looking forward to see you all in this kingdom to share our good memory, expand our network, and especially learn in the shade of our culture.
Hey guys, my name is Noelle and I'm from Korea. I'm really glad to be able to participate in the first Asian Dialogue, and I hope we have an amazing time experiencing a lot.
Hi everybody, my name is JY from Singapore. I'm Singaporean but currently based and work in Cambodia, Phnom Penh. The first ASEAN Youth Dialogue is the first ever event that the youth get together since COVID-19 pandemic. So I look forward to meeting the rest of the youth in the program, as well as to learn some of the collaboration between Korea and the ASEAN countries.
From Cambodia, I am Jin Soang and I'm very excited to be one of the delegates at the first Asian Youth Dialogue 2026 this year. And during the event, I expected to develop my interpersonal skill as well as to add more knowledge about the topic of the 4th Industrial Revolutions. Besides that, I also want to strengthen the connection between Asian and Korean youth.
Hello, I'm Sarah from Singapore and I look forward to making friends in the first ASEAN Youth Dialogue. And I think one thing I would like to learn from Korea is about their university life and their culture there.
Hi, I am Franklin G. Villa, a youth delegate from the beautiful Philippines. The first ASEAN Youth Dialogue will bolster our knowledge and efforts toward post-pandemic recovery. I also would love to meet my fellow youth delegates from the Republic of Korea. See you.
Hello everyone, my name is Seung-Myung Lee and I am the delegate of the Republic of Korea at the 2022 ASEAN Youth Dialogue. I was born in South Korea and I'm currently living in Toronto, Canada. My expectation for participating in the first ASEAN Youth Dialogue is the fact that I can leverage the resources from both the ASEAN nations and South Korea to create visible change in both communities. Something that I want to learn more about ASEAN is some of the international opportunities it's currently providing to really provide post-pandemic support for young people, as well as some of the potential opportunities it can further provide in the future to help young people better thrive and reach their full potential.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Rabi, and I joined this event because I wanted to discuss all the very important issue, and especially I want to leave a very good print to my younger generation to make Cambodia great and better all again. And what my high expectation is that I wish that I can serve you all well with a very warm welcome before leaving to your home countries. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, moving from the ASEAN talk, we are now going to have a very special high-level panel discussion, which will be discussed on the topic of how young people can innovate for human resource development. These sessions will share on a success story and concrete idea on how the young people can take lead in creating an innovative ecosystems that help to keep up with the disruption brought by the fourth industrial revolutions in the post-COVID-19. To run these sessions, we are honored to have a very special guest of honor of our moderator, His Excellency Kong Pok, Secretary of State and Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of the Kingdom of Cambodia. His Excellency Kong Pok, the stage is yours.
Very good morning, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I just asked the colleagues there to make sure that I'm the right person to invite all the panelists up on stage. So I would like to invite His Excellency Dr. Hong Chun Naron, Minister of Education, Youth and Sport, to the stage, please. Next, I would like to invite DSG Aikapap to the stage, and then Mr. David Cho, CEO of the Youth Councils. And one of our panelists is joining from Jakarta, Ibu Kiki Yulyati. She's online now. Yeah. Well, you know, looking from the montage video, I can see is that there's a huge stock of creativity that our young people have. You know, for all of us, before we can make a speech, there must be flags and backdrop and everything. But I can see is all the creative ideas, how you are delivering your messages. So it's very, you know, fitted to the topic that we are going to discuss now, how our young people innovate. I was told that yesterday the discussion was very interesting, and there's a lot of ideas, a lot of issues to be discussed. Unfortunately, because there's not enough time, there's no question and answer. So we'd like to ask the permission from our panelists that I will only, you know, quickly give you a bio, and in case some of our colleagues here want to know more about the panelists, you can look at all the details in the document kit. So we have 4 panelists here. First one, His Excellency Dr. Hang Chuannaron, who is the Minister of Education, Youth and Sport. Next is Excellency Aikapap Pandawong. He is the Deputy Secretary General for the ASEAN Social Cultural Community. And we have Ibu Kiki Yuliati, who is the Director General for Vocational Education, Ministry of Education and Culture, Indonesia, who is joining us from Jakarta. Hello. And finally, Mr. David Cho, Chief Executive Officer, National Youth Councils, from Singapore. Let me go through some housekeeping rules. Each panelist, we have 10, but I'm sure you have a lot to say, so we are flexible with that. So it could be more than 10 minutes. And as the moderator, I have the privilege to ask questions, but I will refrain from doing that. And to give an opportunity to all of our young people to ask a question, as many as possible, especially from your discussions among yourself. Yesterday, I was told that there's a lot of ideas, there's a lot of things that you want to propose. So I hope that that would be an opportunity for you to do it this morning. And I would like to echo what His Excellency Dr. Hang Chuannaron just said during the dinner last night, that we went through our youth period, and we hope that you will be better. But at the same time, I just want to also add that you can also make us better by asking all the questions, proposing ideas, sharing views, and so on. And for each questions, our panelists, we have 3 minutes to answer. So I hope that we can stick to that as much as possible. I know there's a lot of things you want to share with our young people, but I hope that if we can stick to that, then we can have more questions. Before we start, perhaps I just want to say a few words about the purpose of this platform. I think the first one, if I can say, is to allow the panelists to look at the ways on how we can empower our young people by going beyond skill focus. I think every time when we're talking about how we are going to empower our young people, we are talking about what kind of skill we need to provide them. But I think they are more than that. Listening from the experience that they just share, it's not just that the skill that you obtain, but also the ability to translate all of those skills into social developments, to make changes in the societies, to find solutions and so on. And we have a good mix of topic, for this panel discussion. We have, His Excellency Dr. Hang Chuannaron is talking about the synergy, between the policies that we put out here and the government policies in a way to translate what are the outcomes of such events into some sort of concrete policies, and also, finding the way for our young people to participate in the policy-making process and so on. And then we also have Pak Aikapap is talking about how ASEAN is doing its share in promoting human resources development, and then also Ibu Kiki, who is going to talk about how we are going to make that the process will be inclusive and equal as much as possible. Earlier, we were talking about how we can leverage on digitalizations as a way to improve the delivery of education to our young people. But at the same time, we also acknowledge that there's a huge divide over there. During the COVID-19, not every young people have access to all of these facilities or can benefit from digital education and so on. And then we have Mr. David, who is going to provide us, some first-hand experience on how, we can build an entrepreneurship ecosystems, and how the young people, can involve in social changes and so on. The second objective would be to provide an opportunity for our young people to engage with the leader and the policymakers. We have a wide range of platforms, and many of those have been done by, for example, the ASEAN Foundation. And I know that the Youth Councils, which is led by Mr. David, also does a number of platforms, but that's among our young people. But now it's an opportunity for you to engage directly with the Minister of Education, Youth and Sport, with the DSG, and also with the head of organization, for example, Ibu Kiki and also Mr. David. The last point here is that, of course, we have heard a lot of good ideas, but I think it's also important for us to find ways on how we can translate all of those good ideas into concrete actions. Our young people produce a long list of what they want to see, what they want to do, but then it's also important to make sure that some of those ideas can be translated into real project, real actions. Otherwise, they may feel that there's a lot of idea, but less actions have been undertaken. So I would like to proceed straight away to the opening intervention by each of the panelists. First, I would like to invite His Excellency Dr. Hong Chundaron to make the first intervention. Excellency, please.
Thank you. Good morning to all of you. So my topic is the intergenerational collaboration on SDG. So we will construct the knowledge together, and I have 8 points to make. My first question to all of you, do you like K-pop? Raise your hand. Yeah. So unfortunately, I'm not a K-pop star, okay? So do you like to hang out with your friends? Raise your hand. Yeah. Do you like to hang out with your parents? Raise your hand. So we can see that, in order to make that collaboration works, we have to think about a new ways of collaboration. Do you know SDG? Raise your hand. Yeah. Yeah. SDG. What is SDG? Anyone want to, say something? You know what is SDG? Sustainable development? It means sustainable development is the objective, the goal, how to change the world. I think like the previous speaker said, is to live to the new generation, the young generation, the world a better place. Do you think that now the world is a better place? Raise your hand if you think. It means that we have some problem, okay? Now, it means that the way I think the adults have prepared policy for you and try to implement that policy has not reached objective, because we want to live the world a better place, but we have not engaged you. So, how to engage? I think because use a lot of internet and connectivity. So, do you read books from internet? Do you read from internet? Raise your hand. Do you read books? So it's half and half. It means that the way to communicate, to collaborate, we have to think the new way. So I think that this is the problem of policy making. We try to make policy for you, but actually you must contribute to the policy making, and also you must try to do something. And the best way to achieve the socially optimum outcomes, or to achieve intergenerational equity, meaning that to think how to, to consider the interests of the current generation and the future generation to get the optimum outcome, we must have the young people contribute, not just beneficiary, contribute and also to take charge of the implementation of the policy. That, the question number 4, intergenerational responsibility, is the responsibility of the current generation to leave you a better place. And I think that the only way to do it is for the young people to get involved in the policy development, to understand and also to communicate using, I think, the new way of communication. So the question number 5 is what kind of form? Do you think that the current, SDG help you to improve your capacity? Anyone? So can you raise your hand whether the government have improved the capacity for you to understand the global issue? The SDG is about education, health, about end of hunger, about the peace and justice. So, do you think that the government and also the global agency have built your capacity to understand all of that? Raise your hand if you, yeah. If you don't agree, please raise your hand. So I think most people, and I think that it would require more capacity and also participation. I think that's why participation of the young people is very important, and also the consultation opportunity should be created to young people, because if you're not involved, if you not participate, and if there's no capacity building, no opportunity, no way that you can, I think we can achieve those. Because like, the decent job, as well as creating platform to communicate SDG to the young people is really critical, important. Do you think that the government has done enough to help the young people to achieve SDG? Raise your hand if you agree or not agree. So I don't see, there are some people raise only. It means that, to change the world, you must pursue your dream. And it means that we must change the way education is provided. Because I think, like the previous speaker, I want to connect it to the previous speaker. We live in a world very connected with internet, So there are a lot of information out there. In the past, if knowledgeable people or people who knows, but now you can have device. You can just go to Google. The only way is to know English or know, then you can get a lot of information. But the best way is not just to get information, but the ability to analyze information. It means that education must give you, number one, is to have, experiential learning. Learn to do yourself, I think the best way to learn is to do it yourself. Number two is participatory. It means that you have to be there and construct together the knowledge. Number three is to have imagination, how to change the world. And number four is connected. It means that learning should be connected. We have to change the way we teach at school to allow the young people to, I think, to use the way you like to study and to use that teaching method that allow you to reach your best potential. Just memorization will not work anymore. I think the best way is for you to analyze, to do it yourself, and to use the internet in order to reach the potential. And I think that in order to, for you to be able to do that, we must create some project. But sometimes I think the projects that we created for you may not be, meet your needs. It means that, something that platforms such as volunteerism, so that allow you to understand more, know more the needs of the community. Debate, I think youth debate that allow you to really to express the idea so that your ideas can be taken into account. Consultation in the policy making, business initiative, etc. And last but not least, I think digital education. I think we live in a world of, especially during COVID time, the world that is connected, but also the use of technology. It means that, digital education is very important. So I just would like to raise one of the model. I think that the young people can work together is to have a business contest competition. It means that the young people from different backgrounds can work together, can learn about leadership, can learn about how to solve different social problems, whether it's healthcare, education, whether finding the markets for agricultural products, and then propose the solution. And through that, business model competition with mentors from university that can help you to solve different problems. And I think that you have to try out. And the best way is that if you fail, you have to stand up again, and success would be, not just defined by whether the failure or not, but by grit. It means that the ability, the resilience of the young people, and how you see the values to the community. So it means that how you work together to reach, to achieve your dream, and also to propose solution, to be part of the solution, rather than you depend on someone else to create jobs for you. And I think that in order to create the environment for the intergenerational collaboration, it means that we, the government, have to think about the new way to communicate, the new way of doing things, the consultation of policy making. And you can see that it is not easy, because I think the young people do things differently, understand things differently, and that to take into account your needs, the way of you are doing things is very important. Do you agree with me on the issues that in order to achieve the intergenerational equity, to take into account the interests of the future generation, we must, listen to you, and also you must do it also from your own perspective, and we have to collaborate. It means that, both going out with your friends and how to listen sometimes to your parents and try to work it out in the best way to achieve the common objective is the way to go. How do you think about, creating a new way of collaboration? Do you think that the government must change the way that they develop policy? Please raise your hand if you think that. Okay. So thank you very much, and I think that, it is not easy. It means that intergenerational collaboration is not easy, and it means that we must change the way we do business in order to help you to reach that objective. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Excellency Minister, for providing concrete steps on how we can strengthen the capacity and capability of our young people, and also to engage them in many of the works that we are doing. If I can summarize, there are 3 important points from your messages. The first one, given the rapid evolving world, we need to equip our young people with the skills that would allow them to adapt, change, and learn quickly so that they can strive. Secondly, when we are talking about the fourth industrial revolution, we often relate the concepts to blockchain technology, cryptocurrencies, AI, machine learning, and all that. But fourth industrial revolution is also about doing things in a new way that is effective, that is efficient, and that is some things that you are talking about as well. Thirdly, from your perspective, there's a clear place for our young people in the policy-making process. So you urge them to participate as much as possible, sharing view, providing inputs, so that we can have policies that not just reflect what we think, but also what our young people think as well. Next, I would like to invite DSG Octopus to deliver your intervention.
Thank you very much, Secretary of State Kong Phong, for the opportunity. Your Excellency, Dr. Hang Chichinrong, Minister of Education, to the Youth Sports of Cambodia. Your Excellency, Kiki Tijuliti, Director General for the Vocational Education, Ministry of Education and Culture of Indonesia, Mr. David Chua, the Chief Executive Officer, National Youth Council of Singapore. ASEAN Youth Ministers and Representatives, ladies and gentlemen, youth representatives. Actually, this is a golden opportunity for me to join the youth dialogue. You know, I feel that I'm 5 years younger. Today, the focus is on ASEAN's human resource development agenda. Actually, you know, Minister General already covered a lot of the issues. That's a very important part of the fourth liberation. ASEAN's human resource development agenda is influenced and driven by the number of trends and the challenges. This includes the fourth industrial revolution, a rise of the digital economy, and impacts brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic, among others. Just mentioned by Excellency the Minister about the importance of you know, digital device, digital economy. For the ASEAN Secretariat's perspective, we would like to share some information and also what ASEAN leaders, ASEAN countries have done so far. We also have some trends that we would like to share with you. By 2030, the ASEAN's digital economy is estimated to add $1 trillion to the region's GDP, bringing now better and higher paying jobs and better the quality of life. However, the jobless, due to the increasing motivation, automation, non-standard employment relationships, and the inadequate human capital readiness heightened the ASEAN's focus on the needed policies, reforms, and the safeguards. Furthermore, aging societies, increased labor migration, rapid urbanization, and the labor market implications of the blue and green economy as a response to environment and the climate change issues, likewise influence the future of work. The COVID-19 pandemic has also significantly slowed down the economic activities that the cost of loss of 10.6 million jobs. Since the pandemic began, more than 10 million people they have been driven to extreme poverty. The pandemic also disproportionately affected women and the marginalized and vulnerable population. This magnified existing gender disparities in education and training, the quality of jobs and pressure of the care work. Furthermore, learning the losses among the students due to the school disruption during the pandemic has been estimated to cause the future earning the losses of up to 6.5% of the estimated combined 2020 GDP of all the ASEAN member states. But the pandemic has accelerated the adoption of the digital technology and boosted the region's digital economy. The region now has an estimated 440 million internet users who are also digital consumers. The employment in the gig economy also increased along with the adoption of digital technologies in both the public and private sectors. The region's internet economy is also projected to reach $360 billion by 2025. Given these trends and challenges, allow me to discuss the ASEAN's the Human Resource Development Agenda and initiatives. This is what the ASEAN have done so far. Adoption of the ASEAN Declaration on the Human Resource Development in Changing the World of Work and its roadmap. Human resource development is one of the exit strategies for ASEAN in addressing and recovering from the challenges of the pandemic. As I heard, yes, that since in relation to the ASEAN community building process, it goes beyond reskilling and the upskilling of the ASEAN human resources. The equally, the important part is enhancing the inclusion and equity in education and training and ensuring that the young people from across ASEAN can have the access to information and the opportunities. We need to train the people for the right skills to make the ASEAN the competitive, adaptive, dynamic, and resilient. The ongoing development of ASEAN Declaration on the digital transformation of education system in ASEAN, for example, it is one of our actions towards recovery and a more adaptive and the resilient way in the education sector. As for the developing human resources who are equipped with the right skills demanded by the labor market as a crucial segment element for the economic growth and productivity. As I heard from yesterday from the ASEAN talk sessions, the definition of the success in the post-pandemic era has been transforming. The increase focused on people-to-people connectivity, challenges from the learning crisis brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic have changed by the way that we approach our education and the training system. This makes exchange and the knowledge transfers through global and regional platforms more important like ASEAN's collaboration between the member states and the with dialogue partners, such as the Republic of Korea. Now I would like to bring out attention to ASEAN Tibet Council, established in 2020. The ASEAN Tibet Council is a multi-sectoral platform for the coordination, research and development that support the advancement of the Tibet in the region. One of the Council's priorities is to narrow the gaps between the vocational skills, demand and supply, including on green and the digital skills in response to national circular economy agenda and utilization of the ASEAN economies. Let me touch upon the ASEAN education cooperation. Enhanced mutual recognition of the academic and the professional qualifications and the building resilience in education system in ASEAN and its member states by the constantly adapting to global and regional situations that are getting more and more crucial than ever. To ensure that the ASEAN youth recover from the challenges of the learning loss and ensure the education resilience, the Ministry of Education, Youth and Sports of Cambodia and the ASEAN Secretariat, with support from the UNICEF, East Asia and Pacific Regional Office, developed the Reopen, Recover and Resilience in Education guidelines for the ASEAN countries to promote remediation of the efforts in education and to ensure that our future workforce is relevant skills and the competencies. ASEAN also adopted the roadmap on the ASEAN Higher Education Space 2025 last April. The purpose is to establish a platform for the regional higher education collaboration to promote intra-ASEAN student, the faculty, and the researcher mobility, the quality, the insurance, and recognition of the higher education and the professional qualification in the ASEAN region. We expect these would allow more opportunities for our young people to keep progressing and thriving the coming years. With regard to the ASEAN allocated cooperation on the human resource development, the importance of the ASEAN youth in ASEAN, the community building is highlighted in the ASEAN work plan on youth, the 2021 to 2025. ASEAN seeks to strengthen youth participation in the ASEAN regional platforms for the human resource development, among others, by actively participating in policy discourses like this, the ASEAN Youth Forum Dialogue. I am happy that in this opportunity, you can give exchange stories with your new Korean friends and share each other's concerns about the future. The above mentioned declarations, work master plans, and the work plans on education and youth have set the strategic directions and initiatives that support ASEAN youth participation in human resource development, including the policy making, entrepreneurship, and further the consideration of the ASEAN community. The remaining work is how to make sure that they are successfully implemented and achieved through the collaboration among the various stakeholders, including the youth, like our delegates here. Distinguished participants, going back to the theme of this high level dialogue, how the young people can innovate for human resource development. I encourage the ASEAN youth to take the advantage of the various platforms to further enhance the ASEAN, the people-to-people mobility, be more proactive in organizing and participating in the voluntary activities and providing the innovative solutions to the national and the regional challenges in our region. Let's reflect how can you contribute more to ASEAN community building, and how do you enhance our capacities, skills, and the competencies to ensure that you become future ready, whichever the roles you play in your communities. I look forward to constructive, innovative, creative recommendations from our ASEAN youth in advancing the relevant and sustainable human resource development in ASEAN and ASEAN member states. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, DSG AgPub, for providing a very comprehensive overview of what ASEAN has done. I think I can, summarize 3 important points from your message. The first one, the region and the world are different, given the fact, the COVID-19 pandemic, the fourth industrial revolution, climate change, demographic change, and so on. And technology and innovation are at the center in addressing all of this. So we should expect that the future of ASEAN will be a digital one as well. So we need to get ready for that. Secondly, ASEAN is proactive. ASEAN has put out a wide range of framework. For example, the Human Resources Development Roadmap, ASEAN Tibet Council, guideline to reopen the schools and so on, and you highlight the need to make sure that all of this have to be translated into concrete action. The third point is the need, for broader collaboration with our partners, and the Republic of Korea is one of the key partners in developing the human resources in the region. Next, I would like to invite Ibu Kiki to deliver your presentation from Jakarta. Ibu, please.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm sorry I cannot get to your place because of many things, many reasons. I'd like to convey some ideas from the government of Indonesia, how to provide more access for our youth for education, and we would like to promote inclusive education system in Indonesia. As we all know that Indonesia have some challenges as well as other countries in Asia, but we are facing a huge number, quite huge number in our challenges, like children out of school. We have around 4.3 million children and adolescents aged between 7 to 18 years are still out of school, and we are facing low literacy and numeracy skills challenges in our school systems. As we can see from PISA scores in Indonesia, we are still in the low ranked in PISA achievement, and we are also facing the unemployment rate. We have quite some number percentage in youth unemployment, age from 18 to 24 years old. And we also are facing the not in employment, education and training youngsters. We ranges from 21.7% in our youth in 2019, and it's going up because of the pandemic to 24.28%. And about 2/3 of those youngsters in NET, not in employment, education, and training program. 2/3 of them are women. And then we are also facing the effects of pandemic COVID-19. So we are working hard to overcome all these challenges. And since 2020, the government of Indonesia are having this policy agenda. We call it Merdeka Belajar policy, or in English, we can call it freedom of learning program to improve the participation rate in education. So we also invite about more than 95% across pre-tertiary stages and more than 70% in tertiary stages in our education system to participate in Merdeka Belajar, or freedom of learning policy. In this policy, we invite all of the students, both in higher education and tertiary educations to participate in our program. And then we also improve the quality of learning outcomes by inviting all the companies and other societies to get involved in providing the internship and any support for learning for these youngsters. And then we also have some agendas to make this learning, freedom of learning, will be irreversible reform. It means that once it is set up in our system, in our education system, then the policy will guarantee the participation rate and the access for this high quality education system in our country. In this agenda, we are creating more user-friendly ecosystem in terms of education. It means that we are trying to make learning is a fun experience for our students, and we make it open system. It means that we invite the collaboration between stakeholders, and then we also encourage teachers, not only as a teachers, but also as a facilitators and coach in learning activities. And then we also improve the practice-based teaching program. And then we also improve the competency and value-based pedagogy, curriculum, and assessment. We also ask the students to be more active, so we can achieve that student-centered approach with individual needs based for our education system. And then we also ask to focus on soft skills and character building or character development throughout our education system. And then we also encourage get more formative or supportive assessment with supportive feedback for the students. And also we also implement the assessment based on portfolio. As we know that in Indonesia, we improve the infrastructure and technology for education to provide a high quality education. We have around 54.41 million students across the country to serve in our educational system. We also involve 286 lecturers and 2.91 million teachers. With Merdeka Belajar, or freedom of learning, We also provide the general policy and institutional revitalizations. It means that we encourage freedom of learning and then accelerator organization, or in Indonesia we call it organisasi penggerak. We also provide the scholarships for our students, and also improving the funding system for our school. For the leadership and society and the culture, for higher education policy, we have this independent campus. It means that students in higher education can freely choose their program to some extent, of course. And then we also improve the vocational campuses, including independent learning for vocational education. And then we also work on how to make the campus for our schools free from sexual harassment and bullying practices that usually happen here and there in our school systems. And then we also provide the endowment fund for higher education institutions in Indonesia. And then for primary and secondary educations, we have 6 agendas, including school and school aid fund mechanism reform. And then we also provide the Center of Excellence for vocational educations. And then we also improve the report for Indonesia education systems. We call it Raport Pendidikan, Education Report for Indonesia. And then in cultural area, we have 3 agendas. We call it Indonesian Channel. We develop a TV channel for promoting Indonesian culture. And then we revitalization local languages. We have hundreds of local language to revitalize. And then we have Indonesian funding. It means that funding provided to promote our culture. So in our agenda, we are trying to provide more equity and fair access for education for our students, especially youngsters in Indonesia. I hope that students all over the world, especially ASEAN, would like to come to our place to study here, and then we promote also student mobility across the globe with our Freedom for Learning program. That's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ibu Kiki, for sharing Indonesia experience in tackling the issue of inequalities and in promoting equity and inclusiveness in the education system by providing incentive, offering flexible programs, strengthening institutions, building the capacities of teachers and lecturers, and also your offer to further expand the mobility program within the ASEAN regions and beyond. I'd like to also touch on this a bit as well. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, all the indication pointed to the directions that ASEAN will be lagging behind in achieving our goals by 2030, especially in the education area. And I want to also emphasize that being able to go to school is not just about learning new skills and all that, but it is also a place that our young people can benefit more than just receiving skills and learning. It is also a place that they can learn, life experience, and also for for children from poor family, it also a place that can help in terms of free lunch and all that. Based on some of the data, children from poor family, they miss the opportunity to go to schools, or because of the school closure due to COVID-19. A large majority of them will not be able to go to schools, and that's going to be a huge loss of skills, productivities, and learning. Next, I would like to invite Mr. David Chua, CEO of the National Youth Council of Singapore, to deliver your remark, please.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Your Excellencies. I just have three points about the challenges that confront ASEAN, and then maybe three suggestions to you for how we can overcome some of these challenges. I'll start off with a question, and do you know what time duration constitutes a generation? How long, anyone? What is a generation? How many years would that be? 20? Who says 20? 30 years? Okay, not sure. It's about 20 to 30 years. We're at 2020. About 30 years ago, in 1991, when I was a senior high school student, something happened in the world, which you all remember. You weren't born then, I think, but maybe some of us remember any global events that happened in 1991? Or anyone wants to hazard a guess? End of the Cold War. There was one superpower that disappeared when I was 17 years old. It was called the USSR, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. I never imagined that whatever we studied in the history book, a superpower disappeared almost overnight. There's one message I want you to take away, and the first one is that systems and regimes can disappear in a generation. ASEAN and ASEAN centrality, as we understand it, can disappear in a generation if we are not careful. 5 years later, I was a student studying in the UK. And at that time, the European Union was forming. And Britain was going through a national debate on whether to join the European Union. They finally joined it. Where are we today? About 25 years later, England or the UK has exited the European Union, Brexit. Systems come and systems go, and you cannot take some of these things for granted. So that's the first headwind and challenge to all of us. ASEAN can disappear in a generation. The next headwind that you need to take note of is that there are inequalities. You need to mind the gap. There are social inequalities, social immobilities, and fragility. There are also intergenerational gaps. There are also technology gaps. According to the Economic Policy Institute, 90% of the world has seen their wage increase about 15% over the last few decades. The top 1%, would you know how much the wage has increased? 138%. When I was also your age, around this time in 1997, we saw the ASEAN financial crisis. 10 years later, we saw the global financial crisis where financial institutions, finance systems were challenged. 10 years later, today, we're looking at cryptocurrency, decentralized finance, and a lot of issues around those systems as well. There are these real gaps that are emerging. Technology has raised the head. Today, you're on Spotify. I grew up with, who remembers the Walkman? Some of you do. I used to carry that on a bus on the way to school and with earphones into our ears. You have Spotify today, all kinds of platforms for streaming music. So technology has accelerated so much. There are gaps, there are access gaps, there are also competency gaps. So that's the next headwind that faces you. The third headwind that I would put across to you that challenges us are that diversity can descend into divisions. Don't take the diversity that we have as a strength for granted too. It can divide. In an era of globalization, I've seen free access to travel now confined because of COVID to limited borders, countries looking inwards, becoming protectionists and protecting themselves, limiting trade flows, limiting people flows. So divisions are real. Technology also exacerbates the racial, social, cultural divides. The bifurcation of logistic supply lines and tech also, as you see Western democracies pitch themselves against the other systems. Today that's real. Alliances being formed even within the Asia and ASEAN region. You see the Quad coming up. You see AUKUS forming. You see the Pacific Islands coagulating into alliances. All these are signs that there are alliances and people coming together in different ways. And so all the more we have to watch out to how to protect our ASEAN centrality. COVID-19 also causes a lot of divisions. So be under no illusions. ASEAN, as the first point I mentioned, can disappear in a generation. You need to mind the gaps. There are many gaps that are surfacing. Third, diversity can descend into divides. So these are three realities that you will face, that over a generation that I grew up from your age to where I stand today, I've witnessed it, and as His Excellency said here, is the world a better place? I can't tell you that it is a better place, but I was sitting in your seat and I thought it would become a much better place. So be careful. So how do we prepare yourselves then to be future ready? Just three things. One is that you need to keep challenging the status quo. Be the change. But to be the change, you need some courage to stand up against people like us and say, something is not working. Something needs to change in the way we devise policy, in the way that we implement it, in the way that we create impact. The world cannot stick to some of its ways of doing things, even ASEAN. And so, Dato here has the unenviable task of transforming the ASEAN Secretariat so that ASEAN as a platform remains relevant. And you need to be at the front of it, not at the back behind us. You need to start coming at level with us and start shaping policies and start shaping the change. So other than being the change, you need to shore up capital. So I have 3 C's for you. Be the change, capital. What kind of capital? Social capital. So when we talk here and say that guys go out, so last night I know you all went up to Pub Street, you had gatherings, you go to cafes, wherever. Keep doing that, but don't do it in your individual country circles. Mix around. That capital is important. That capital, I've seen it in the inner government workings and within ASEAN, how it helps the system. Things move because there are relationships and there's a level of trust. So some of you here, or many of you here, will become ministers, leaders, influencers, corporate leaders in your time. And you should be able to say, hey, I knew that guy when I went with him to Pub Street and shared a beer. Or when we went to Angkor Wat, which we will do later this afternoon. That must be how it is. And you should be able to pick up a phone call to your friend and say, look, I think something's happening, let's work it out. That level of trust is not easily built. So build that capital, not later, now. Okay, and the last C is to take collaborative action. So, as I said, it's not just talk, collaborative action. Act on it. And you need to find new mechanisms for collaborative action. And the partnerships need not just be with institutions and governments, it has to be with NGOs, private sector, that needs to come in. You had 3 earlier friends that came in that talked about the social impact changes that they were doing. They need support, they need to be in part of the collaborative action, and we need to work with them. So that level of partnership and collaborative action hasn't been fully realized. And these are the things you need to help us on if we are to be future ready. So challenge the systems, be the change, build the capital, and find ways to do collaborative action better. I end off with a quote from Henry Kissinger, one of my favorite diplomats throughout history. Last year, he said that in trying to forge creative coexistence, whether it is of East and West, different political regimes, is what we do in ASEAN necessary? Yes. Are our goals attainable? Yes. But it is not automatic. And that's the thing you must walk away from here realizing that nothing here that we do, if we want to confront the challenges, is automatic. You have to work at it, not later, but now. So I leave those thoughts with you, and thank you very much, and I hope we have a good Q&A.
Thank you very much, David, for your, I think, very clear proposals and also warnings as well. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, ASEAN is at an interesting moment, both positive and negative here. And we need to continue to further strengthen ourselves, be prepared for all of these challenges. On the point that David just mentioned about, leveraging social capitals, ASEAN has more than 2,000 meetings per year, but because of COVID-19, we moved most of the meetings online. And some of the people, ask this question, ASEAN has so many meetings. What we are going to do in all of those meetings? I think one of the answer would be, similar to the one that David just mentioned. It's also part of the building of the social capitals as well. We know each other almost by names. We met like 10 times, 20 times per year. And that in some ways allows us to say some things that sometimes difficult, uncomfortable, but we manage, to discuss about all those kind of things. The last comment is on the last point that David just mentioned. It's also some things that I mentioned from the outset as well. The need for collaboration among our young people on some important projects. And I hope that the ASEAN Youth Dialogue becomes a platform not just for all of the young people to come together to exchange views, but also to make some of your views and ideas work and happen. And that requires all of our support and the support from our partners. And now I'm looking at my colleague from the OK mission in Jakarta. So some of the ideas that may emerge, from the conversation among our young people here can be translated into concrete action that we have, implications in the long run, not just, the views that you may be able to put together during these times of event. So now we finish with all of the four panelists with a lot of ideas and interesting views. Next, I would like to open the floor for questions and comments. Before we start, please, state your names and where you're from. Make sure that your questions and comments short and concise as possible so that you can give an opportunity to your colleagues to also ask questions and make comments. We are in the, sharing the benefits of having this engagement with our leaders here. So now the floor is open. Any first questions or comments? Over there, please, and then the next
one. Hello. Thank you so much, Excellencies and speakers, for your wonderful presentation. My name is Seung-myung Lee, and I'm the delegate from the Republic of Korea. I have a question for our last speaker, Mr. David. You have mentioned that many things can change in a generation for like 20 or 30 years. And I thought that maybe inequalities and how they look like can also change within a generation. So I wanted to ask how we can continue to address those ever-changing scope of inequalities and how they look like within a short period of time and how we can keep addressing them.
There was another question there? Or I can take the question. Yeah. The inequalities, as you said, keep changing and actually become much more challenging. Your friends in the earlier set actually provided the answer. One of the things they did was they went to the ground. And they also, and the last speaker, that lady also, she said, understand the needs on the ground and don't come in with preconceived notion of what the inequalities look like and feel like. And actually in the Singapore government too, we find that at the government level, we imagine what the inequality looks like, feels like, but when you go to the ground and you see and experience it for yourself, and we also ask our civil servants to do 2 or 3 months doing the action and interface with the citizens, you will realize that the needs are quite different and that policy doesn't always meet its intent. And therefore, because of that, you need to make tweaks and adjustments. So, but the point is, whether you are in the government or you're in an NGO or you're a corporate, always put your ear to the ground and don't try and imagine what the experience is. Go and find out. In tech terms, they call it the user experience. So unless you do the interface and you play with it and you do your alpha, beta versions and iterations, same thing. Go down and check what in the world is happening. How are they feeling about it? And how is it connected to all the other inequalities and structural issues? And then as you unravel it, you realize that the problem is not so simple. There are many facets to it, and then you have to prioritize what you want to sort out. So that is I think, one of the best ways to quickly tackle emerging inequalities when you see them.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Before giving the floor back to our young people here to ask, another question, I just want to also give an opportunity to the panelists to provide some view, because in my opinion, inequality is perhaps one of the most severe threat to human civilization. And if we fail to address it, and then it's going to have long-lasting impacts on how we survive as a civilization. Because, for example, when it comes to climate change, there's always this issue of inequalities as well. I mean, sometimes we're talking about huge pollution in developing country, but at the same time, there's also discussions about, consumption per capita in the developed countries as well. So now I would like to also ask our panelists to provide some views on how we are going to tackle inequalities going forward.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question. Do you want the world to be equal? I think this is, the aspiration, yes. Then there's a theory, let's make everybody equal. But once you make everybody equal, there's no incentive to work hard, to work better. I think, like in the 19th century, there's a theorist called Karl Marx. He wanted to make the world equal. And then there's a socialist, idea that everybody can be equal. But then once you make everybody equal, there's nobody, want to work hard. But also you can have something like a welfare state, in maybe developed country. Maybe not equal, but there are some people can thrive. But then you want to have a system like a welfare state to redistribute, through taxes and, to redistribute that to provide like some decent living. So it is about, the balancing act, but if you go to one extreme, it will not work. So you have to balance, how to make it work. There's no perfection. There's no pure equality, It in the mind, yes, in the aspiration, but in reality, nothing. Even if you born in the same family, you have 3 children, but even they live in the same condition, they are not equal. They are grown with some different capacity that you need to help. It means that, you have to put human face to all that. So I think that, maybe you can have like humanity. Maybe that the word, not just equality, but humanity, because, the pure equality, it did not succeed. If you want to have, even in one family, you have equality. Even it may not be, you imagine that for the whole country, for the whole system, but I think that's why, you need to balance. Sometimes move to the right, sometimes move to, move to the left a little bit to balance out. and also the government must listen to the electorate, what they want. So basically, I think that works. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency Minister. DSG Agapap or Ibu Kiki, if you want to make some comment, or you want to save your energy for the next question, that's also fine.
Yeah, thank you. I will respond to next question. I think all of the panelists have responded to that questions.
Thank you.
Nicely.
I just want to add on to His Excellency. That's an excellent point. So in designing systems, if you can look at the way we redistribute benefits, that's one way of looking at it. And the other one is how you ensure access points so that you make accessibility more equitable. So it will not be a perfect state, as His Excellency mentioned. But if you can redesign the redistribution system and you can develop an access system better, that helps also.
Thank you, David. Next question, yes, and then over there.
Hello, I'm Delegate from South Korea, and I have a question. It's my pleasure. And many people, and also the Ministry of Cambodia, have emphasized digital commercialization. So I'd like to politely ask His Excellency about that. So digitalization is good, but I think holding a book or pencil is important. When you turn a page, the touch or texture of your hand is different from that of pushing slides through ebook. Also, I think it is important to experience writing with pencils, spreading graphite on your hands. Of course, convenience is the core of the fourth industrial revolution, but still, shouldn't we still protect these experiences as students? I would like to ask politely about your opinion, Excellencies. Thank you.
I think very interesting. I think it depends on what is comfortable for you. Now, for me, and also for research, it showed that if you write, if you type, when you do some research, you type. I think you can memorize, but to lesser extent. It's better to write it. So if you learn Korean or learn Chinese, it's very difficult character. So if you learn Chinese or learn Korean language, for foreigner, if you don't write down, you cannot memorize, the stroke or the Chinese character, because it's very complicated, and you had to write down. And that when you write down, according to research, you memorize better. Just typing, maybe, but not it's more efficient. It's more efficient, but you don't. I think the memory work well when there is a movement of hand and the effort of the brain, to understand. So, but in terms of digital skills, that very different. So we talk about different things here. We talk about how to use pencil and how to write down, to learn, that one thing. And the digital skill, meaning that, you have to learn how to write software, computer coding, robotic, maybe competition, etc. But that's a different skill. However, you need the balance. I have seen that, when the student focus a lot on the skill, just one-sided, it doesn't work. Because skill and also critical thinking. Another thing, if you want to, if you read, from, for example, from tablet, you can get, a lot of information. But the problem is that you cannot learn what we call the deep knowledge, like philosophy, a lot of high-level knowledge that require to read books, because not everything on the internet, because there are high-level knowledge in the books because it's protected by authorized. So that's why you need to have a balance. I think digital skill is very important, like in terms of software development, blockchain, or maybe skill that needed by the private sector. Those are important you know. So it means that when we talk digitalization, you have to look at different things. Computer software development, coding, that one thing. Learn to deep knowledge, you know, study the work of the classics that are not in the high level knowledge, that are not in internet, and then how to learn, say, the Chinese language or the language using the hand that make the brain work better according to research. So you talk about different things. So thank you.
Thank you, Excellency Minister. We have another question from...
I don't mind just having a quick one. I'm using an Apple Pen, by the way. My short answer is it depends on the outcome. What outcome are you trying to pursue here? So I use it because there is a certain efficiency, and I use tech as an enabler. I still use the pen for my journals. I do handwritten journals as well, but those are for deeper reflective learning over the course of a year when I want to make reference back. So you can use both, but it depends on whether you are clear about what you're using it for. And if the tool is best matched to your outcome, then use either the digital pen or tech enablers, or go use your normal pencil and paper. Both are okay.
Okay, next question.
Yes, His Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Phúc Lạc Võ, representative from Vietnam. This is my honor to be here and to have some discussion with you guys. In the charter, the official charter of our ASEAN community, ladies and gentlemen, there is a really famous statement. The statement makes the historical foundation for our ASEAN community is that we unite in diverse. And in the presentation of His Excellency David, I share a really great impression on your argument. You say that diversity can be divided. So there are many nowadays. There are many conflicts idea when it comes to our ASEAN community. They say that we usually have declaration, but we rarely have the code of conduct. It means that some people say that we just declare, but how about our action? So regarding the sustainability of the diversity in the near future of our ASEAN community, I would like to kindly deliver my question is that what can we do to sustain the diversity in our community and turn the declaration of diversity into the action of diversity. Thank you very much for you guys' patience, and I would love to listen to your response to my question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. David, you want to give the first try?
Thank you very much for the question. This is interesting. The ASEAN in diversity. This is very important for ASEAN. Because ASEAN, is consists of many the cultures and differences, but we still harmonize. Particularly to the ASEAN centrality, this is one of the important for the ASEAN. ASEAN diversity, that means we can share the culture, we can share the ASEAN identity. Because in ASEAN we have a lot of similarities that we can share with each other. That's important for ASEAN. Is it not that mean what you said, that can diversity be divided? What is the question? Is a question like that? But actually, for diversity in ASEAN, it's a very comprehensive. We have differences, we have the similarities and also some differences, but we can harmonize. But in ASEAN, we have ASEAN centrality. Yeah, this is important for ASEAN. Yeah.
Thank you, DSG Agapap.
Okay.
Okay, I can share a little. So harmonization is one strategy, and I think up to now, ASEAN has done well to look at where there are common grounds and similarities, and we build on those. But there are weaknesses to how we do things too. And the weakness is that we sometimes don't discuss the hard stuff. We tend to avoid the difficult points of contestation, especially when it intrudes. So the next challenge for ASEAN is whether we can build that appetite and the platforms to have constructive dialogues on very difficult issues. Will we be strong enough to sit together and discuss something that can be potentially sensitive? We need more of those platforms, and we need people around ASEAN to have that willingness and that risk appetite to say, let's discuss this without being overly sensitive. That is our next challenge. So we have built on a strength of harmonization, but we need to go to the next bound. And this is hopefully where we look to you to create that kind of appetite and platforms.
Yeah.
I just would like to add, I think the idea of integration, it comes from, the after World War II, in which, France and Germany were fighting two world wars, number 1 and number 2. So they want to put an end of the dispute. How you can reconcile two countries. It's through the integration of, initially of coal and iron. And then it allows, European country really to integrate. But for Europe, it's a very high level of integration. It's about the, not just free trade, but, common market and very high level. It's based on law, on law, very complicated. Then many countries try to copy that. So we have ASEAN, but we have also many organizations in Africa and Latin America. I think those not very successful. I think ASEAN is one of the successful that you can unite different countries. Singapore, very advanced and developed country, but then we have least developed country, then that's why we can have like reduced development gaps. So ASEAN is very special, is that you can integrate different countries into the same group. But Europe, I think Europe also, they have differences, but maybe smaller. Also, because ASEAN also have, diversity. We have different religion. Europe may be easier, maybe more similar. But how ASEAN united is mean that you can have unity, but you can have your own, interests. So each country have their own interests. Also, there's a lot of, like superpower. So each country has its own foreign policy. While in Europe, it's more, I would say, more integrated, more aligned with each other. I think that's why ASEAN is successful, is that, okay, centrality, but mainly because, flexibility, in terms of economic integration, only free trade area, not high level yet because of different economic development. And then, relationship with, with different big power. So ASEAN is very flexible. You can have different kind of national interests, because it's mainly about national interests, but also different kind of relationship. But that also creates some fragility if the outside world is stronger. So you need to balance between regional interests, outside world interests, and national interests. Basically, the balancing act, and what David talked about is that the danger of that. Sometimes, we don't discuss hard issue because it's very sensitive. However, I think that if we try to find maybe, common a decision based on common interests, whether all the countries have common interests or not. So I think those are the challenges. That's why I think ASEAN is based, number one, on national interests, then regional, and maybe some global issue that all the countries need to balance, in making the decision. So I think that, that balancing act need to be redefined from time to time. So it's not easy, and maybe, the young generation maybe have different views and ideas about that. But I think so far, ASEAN is the most successful because there are also the lack of power, superpower, after the end of the Cold War, U.S. withdrawal, and the end of, maybe then there's a power voice. So ASEAN is creating, deepening integration, economic, and now community building. But that not the same as in Europe. Europe also have challenges. You can see Brexit, because sometimes the national interests and the regional interests are different. So just to I think what David warned is that look at Brexit, and look at whether Britain consider that in the EU their national interests are protected or not. So I think that I think what is the warning is about, But in fact, we need to really redefine from time to time what is the balancing act needed for ASEAN to be successful in the next, say, 30 or 40 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency Minister. Pak Ekapap and then Ibu Kiki, in case you also want to make some points on this.
Yeah, thank you. And I would like to respond to two questions previously. First, about digital tools in our learning system and in our education. In Indonesia situations, we cannot. I think we cannot replace all our learning tools with digital, but digital tools in our learning system will improve access, especially for those who are in the remote area. We are really depend on digital, but as mentioned before, that we optimize the use of pencils, papers, and digital equipment for our teaching and learning process. About the second questions about diversity, yes, diversity can be divided if it is not understood. So Indonesia promoting understanding the uniqueness of each other and promoting the tolerance between the diversity segment in our country. So we are improving the understanding of the uniqueness for each other. That's my response for the two questions, the last two questions.
Thank you, Ibu. Pak Ekapap, yes.
Okay, thank you. I just want to add and clarify some more about diversity. Okay, for young people, the word diversity is short, but the meaning is very comprehensive and broad. As for the political pillar, in ASEAN that we have different political regimes ruling. We have many, but we still harmonize. Second, for the economic pillar, we have different levels of economic development in ASEAN, but we still harmonize. For the social cultural also, in ASEAN, that we have different cultures and also a lot of the similarities, but we can harmonize. Yeah, that's, we stick to the ASEAN centrality. Centrality, that means ASEAN one. For the issue the differences between the ASEAN and the EU that just mentioned by the Minister. I would like to add some more for your better understanding, ASEAN youth. ASEAN does not have foreign common policy. Each ASEAN member states have their own foreign policy. But for the EU, they have their common foreign policy. That's different. Yes, please try to understand that. ASEAN is an intergovernmental organization, but the EU is a supranational organization. Different. Yeah, I think it's clear for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pa Agapap. Just two quick points from me on this. You know, the first one is also a question how much you understand and know about ASEAN. Based on the ASEAN Secretariat survey, the finding isn't encouraging. You know ASEAN, but not, you know, on specific matters. And without such understanding and knowledge, it would be very difficult for you to appreciate, understand, harmonize, or tolerate. So I would encourage everyone, you know, to try as much as possible to understand about differences between state, but also what ASEAN is doing. Second point, of course, we acknowledge there are some shortcomings. There are some issues that we may not be able to talk, but I can say is that ASEAN does discuss difficult issues, but in most often we don't do that in public. It's often, you know, behind closed door. No one knows what, you know, ASEAN foreign minister is talking about something, but they do have a wide range of discussion on difficult topic. And on this, I should also say is that we shouldn't depend just on the official platform. Platform like this can also be a venue for you to ask such questions as well. Before I give the floor to another question, I just want to ask how many minutes left we have, MC? How many minutes left?
We ran out of time now.
Ran out of time.
Yes.
So two final questions, and then we are done with this. This one and that one.
Good morning, Excellency and the Minister of Education, Youth and Sport. So beside getting to the question, I think because it's already run out of time, I would like to hear your key message, short key message. My question delivered to His Excellency Dr. Hong Chunaron and also His Excellency Kongpur, Secretary of State. Since we all know that in this room, our delegate is mostly from international relations subjects, and it's very important for me and others would like to hear your key message for the future young leader in preparing for the public sector, working in public sector, and especially foreign affairs. Because we are into the period where intergeneration is very important, and how can we work with you is a very important message we want to hear. Thank you so much, sir.
Can we also get the last question from there, and then you know, ask the panel to provide the answers.
Good morning, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. So my question is that, like, currently, I'm Thao and I'm from Vietnam, and currently I'm working in the field of digitalizing education in Vietnam. And there's one fact that I observe is that when we are conducting pilots for digitalizing education, we always prioritize schools in the urban areas, although like schools in non-urban areas still have sufficient IT capability. So then my question is that how can we ensure all of the students in non-urban areas still have the access to the digitalized education system? Because I think in the 21st century, it is very important for everyone, not only students in the urban area, to be equipped with the digital skills. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So we will start from...
Maybe we can ask that table because they got their hands up for a long time. Is it Malaysia's side? Okay. Yeah, okay, ask quickly, come. Last one.
Well, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Lucas Norman and I'm from Indonesia. So yeah, especially I want to give my question for the first speaker. Is about, you mentioned that we have gap generation nowadays with old people and young people, especially how we collaborations to make policy in each ASEAN countries and yeah, in others country. So basically my question, as far as I know, some people with their culture really taking serious with cultural base, especially, for instance, some family put all of decision only in head of the family, like fathers. And it has been like some things that we live for. And then my questions is about, as a youth people, we have to get the opportunity to give our perspective. What we did not get accepted by because of that culture. And it is really hard if we're talking only about the collaboration, because we need, it's not only about the collaboration itself, but what move that we can collaboration together with old people and young people. And I'm not find this until today. So my questions is, how as a youth, we're facing this obstacle, especially to get opportunity about what we need to collaboration for and what the action itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Perhaps one last question from Malaysia, and then we conclude here.
Thank you very much, His Excellency, for the question opportunity. Dear Excellencies, dear panelists, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, His Excellency, I'm Ratan from the Kingdom of Cambodia. I have noticed a point that His Excellency Dr. Hong Jun Aron had mentioned when asking a question to all the delegates, how many people like to hang out with friends? Many people here raise their hand, but when talking about how many people want to hang out with their parents, less people raise their hand. So this what I reflect is that perhaps there is a gap between like elder generation and younger generation, maybe in terms of technology and also some other thing as well. And I have a very simple question. How do we bridge the gap between elder generation and younger generation, especially in terms of digital technology? Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we have all these 4 questions. So I would like to invite each panelist to provide answer to the question, if something that you can provide, and ending with your final message, so that we can just conclude in one round. Thank you very much. Excellency, Minister, want to start first?
Okay, I think I will be very short to the first question about, international relation. I think the world is more complex, and I think for the young people, you need to understand that complexity, and also meaning that, if you don't understand that complexity and try to adapt, and also try to ensure that I think try to ensure that the future generation can also handle that very complex world, because there will be more competition, a lot of shock in terms of including the shock of civilization. I think that would require a lot of skill to do it. So I think that you must understand the world. So the only way to study it and then to really adapt to it and make sure that ASEAN will be a better place. Number 2, about how to make digitalization work in rural area. I think that this is because it's about if company make more investment, it's not the return. It means that only the government can do it, because private company, if they invest in the rural area, they don't get a lot of return, and also you need huge investment. It means that the solution that that we try to do is that to create like digital classroom. For example, just one computer in the rural area. So instead of having internet connection, you bring all the digital content to put in the computer in the rural school, and then allow the rural school really to learn computer, but also no need for internet access, but to learn from the digital content from the digital classroom. So we aim to have one digital classroom in each school in the rural area, and that's how we solve it. Otherwise, it will not, it's very expensive, and also it will not work. Number 3, and number 4, related to each other, is about the, how to, intergenerational, maybe collaboration. I think it's, all the young people like that. It's not just you. When we were young, we also the same. When you reach the age of, like 14, 15, you get a lot of pressure or a lot of influence from your peer, because you want to hang out with your friends. I think this is human nature. It's not just the current generation. I think when you study the human nature, it's just like that. So it means that, so how to ensure that, because you think differently, just like my children, they said that you think differently, but sometimes the parent have to make concession, if you want to have that. Both sides have to make concession, listen to each other, and the best way is to, for the government to make it work is that they have to really provide rooms for consultation, and also provide capacity, very, very important. Without capacity, you cannot be on equal footing. Number 3, you have to prove that you are right, because sometimes your parent can be wrong, so I think that's why you have to prove that you are right. Number 4 is that if you think that, you have to have passion for something. Without that passion, it will not work. So sometimes people think that, okay, IQ is very important, but according to research, not IQ, it's that grit. When you fail, you have to do it again. You learn from experience. Knowledge is important, but also experience also very important. So you have to really, in order to have that collaboration, I think we have to listen to each other, like you listen to your peer, but you can listen to the teacher, to your parent, and then make your own decision, but to be, I think, not just depend on other, but try to do it. And I think that there are successful people who really can prove it. So I think that capacity building, opportunity, like internship, learning through the experience from other. So I think that you learning from the experience from other is really very, very powerful. Thank you. But do your own research, do your own self-study, and make sure that you have the capacity to do something to make it work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency Minister, your answers and all your key message. Next, DSG Aikapap. Ibu Kiki.
Okay, for the questions about how to ensure the digital access or infrastructure, I think we have to collaborate with other institutions, because providing digital infrastructure cannot be done alone. So collaborate, and I agree with the minister from Singapore that the government should be involved more in providing the digital infrastructure, especially for the rural area or remote area. And to improve our communication with the young generations, we, the adult, are involving more our youth in our policy formulation, and we increase our communications with the youth, young generations. We are listening more to the young generations, and please be patient with our, probably we have a communication gap, but we are trying to listen and understand the young generation more. And the keywords for our attempt or our effort to promote better education system is to collaborate and to collaborate for the better education system in ASEAN and Korea relationships.
Thank you, Ibu. David?
Okay, just for any of you who want to join the Foreign Service, your two key challenges are ensuring that multilateralism can still work and ensuring that there are regional or global architectures that allow countries big and small to get along, to compete and to cooperate peacefully. That is the key challenge for Foreign Service officers. For access to rural areas, actually you just need to go to the ground. Is the question one of access points? Is it affordability? Or is it just that it's not visible in the radar of needs? So it's not a question of whether it's not getting there, it's why is it not getting there, and go and investigate. For civil action by young people, actually you cannot just be taking action by yourself, you need to ask for help. And that's where policy can come in. We can give you the information on where the gaps are, we can give you resources, and we can also give you the mandate. So don't be afraid to ask for these help. The last point about connecting with other generations, bring us into your world. We are also trying, as everybody says, but also allow for some reverse mentoring so that you teach us and we teach you. My final message to all of you is be the change, and don't be afraid to be the change. Thanks.
Thank you, David. And since the question was also addressed to me, and since David, addressed the external factor to that question already, I just want to make it simple. Build your capacities. Accumulate first-hand experience as much as possible. Involve where opportunity presents, and don't forget to apply for the job. On the bridging between parents and children, I think when you see your parents sending you a friend request, you should confirm so that they also know what you're doing and what you can share with them. To conclude this panel discussion, I just want to refer back to the question that Ms. Sol Kim just raised earlier. It's true that the world is big, huge, and that also makes it true that no one can do it alone. So we have to collaborate. That's why we are here. So let's work together, and I hope that this opportunity will create more opportunity in the future. Once again, I would like to thank all our panelists, so please give them a big round of applause to end the panel discussion. Thank you very much, and wish everyone a productive discussion going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to His Excellency Kong Pok for conducting a panel discussions. Thank you for our special panelist, His Excellency Dr. Hong Junaron, His Excellency Ekapap Pantawong, Her Excellency Kiki Uliti, and Mr. David Chu for a very detailed and great sharings to our youth and delegates and honored guests here. Thank you very much. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, now we come to an end of our sessions, and we are going to have a 10-minute coffee break. I repeat once again, we have only 10 minutes of coffee break because we are going to come back to our dialogue session with our minister and high-level official. So please inform once again, we have only 10 minutes and we will be enter the room after our break. Or you can bring your coffee into the room. Thank you very much.
She tell me settle down, what does it all mean? Anything you want, baby, give it all to me. I can be your baby tonight. You can be my lady, alright. We can drive out, maybe end up in the hills. I do a lot of things, yeah, I do it for the thrill. I can be your baby tonight. You can be my lady.
Recording stopped.